what they want, because, well, the question is, do clients really know what they want? Well, a lot of times they don't. So I delivered something that they need. And well, for me personally, I have masters in IT, so I'm a programmer, but working in sales, so I can understand both sides. And that's why when I came back to Poland in 2010, I started my own marketing agency and a software house, and it was quite successful. Like, people that are here, mostly from Poland, they probably know some of my clients, like Maspex or PKP. So, you know, if, for example, you've been drinking Tiger energy drink, we've been doing the 4 and 6 pack for those guys, right? With design, and I was responsible for selling that project. So what I'm doing right now is taking the experience that I had in US and with my own company, and putting this into processes for, well, many different companies. I'm working with, well, mostly software houses. So even from the Polish market, one of our clients is STX Next, so the biggest Python software house. We have U2I or Railwayman.
Can you maybe just to get into the meat of things? We will have, just to explain, we will have two topics today, and I will try to make it as short as possible, and then you guys give space if you have questions. Meanwhile, you can easily put it in the, just type it in the message. And the first part will be around sales and what Przemek learned from selling to, like, what are the biggest mistakes of different software houses when selling IT services. And then we would look a bit into the growth marketing journey of the top software houses in Poland. Actually, we did this study, so we just want to dissect a bit what these companies are doing well, and how they are bringing leads to the sales guys. And then later on, because you guys are live, we will share also some frameworks that we did. We will have some questions. So I just wanted to make sure we have an understanding on what's next, and we get to the meat content of things. So Przemek, the floor is yours. You can share the screen, the presentation,
Cool.
and I will look into the chat. If there are questions, I can maybe stop you and just put the questions. So guys,
cool. Yeah. So yeah, if you do have questions, just jump in, and yeah, just let me know whenever I'm needed. So I'm gonna run through the slides, but either way, you can stop me at some moments, and if Romeo, you cannot answer the questions right away, we can add this to the presentation, because I want to make it as interactive as possible. Cool. And well, like, even starting when I look at sales, especially in tech companies, I see that usually there's two big groups, and there's fights between those groups. So there's marketing and there's sales. So normally the communication isn't too good between those guys, and they are fighting because, you know, one requires good leads, the other one wants the other team to close those leads, and there's always pointing fingers. And what usually I want to prove is that those two teams are working for the same goal, and they're in the same team. So we want to get that in line. But not even looking at different groups, I see different challenges that owners or directors of companies have. And you might have this or not, but I see a lot of times, especially in those mid-size, like 15, 20, 30-person teams, you have only one or two big clients, and you feel really insecure because you don't know what's going to happen if one of those clients is going to go away, right? And other cases, I see that you only have partners that bring you deals, so you don't know what's going to happen if they disappear, if they go away. Or you just feel that you're not getting enough cash for what you're doing, right? And you know that your neighbor is charging twice much. Or in the end, you just lost. So you have no idea when you're going to have the next client, the next lead. And it doesn't, again, matter if it's on marketing or sales side. So I want to talk about... Are you
sharing the screen now, or you're not?
Yes.
We cannot
you don't see it?
No.
Oh, sorry. One sec. Let me do that again.
Because I was listening to you, and I was like, you were looking at some presentation, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, okay. It showed me that it's sharing, but let me do it again. Boom.
Okay, now we are loading.
Okay, So maybe there was some technical glitch. All right.
Okay, now it's loading.
Now,
So
all right. So tell me whenever you see
now
it.
it's good. Yeah, you can.
Okay. So maybe just to summarize, not to take the time, I was talking about being insecure because you have only, one or two big clients, dependents.
You can close this small thingy with click meeting.
Yeah.
Just minimize
Sorry.
it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm a programmer, but I'm not super tech. So as you can see, okay. So undervalued and lost. So what I want to do is show you how you can get more control over sales and start doing controllable aspects of your everyday actions to feel more comfortable. Right. And how I look at this, I usually like to compare this to sports and to my high school pictures. And yes, I was Asian when I was in high school. But looking, to seriously looking at this, if I want to have a six pack, right? If I want to start working out, usually people are motivated. Let's say in January, they really want to do this. They buy this, ticket to get to the subscription to the gym. And even if I go and start doing 20, 30 push-ups every day, or even 150, is it going to be enough? Well, the answer is no, because you cannot just go and start doing push-ups. You have to have a full plan. You have to have a metric system, optimization, motivation, and a goal. And it's kind of the same with sales or marketing. You cannot just go and do something too much because you can hurt yourself. Just like you can hurt yourself in the gym when you overwork your body. It could be the same when you oversell or overmarket your company. And people are just going to look at you as those pushy salespeople or pushy marketers that are trying to spam everyone. So I've learned this working with all those different types of companies. Like I mentioned, everything from one-person startups to big corporations. Like even interesting projects that we're running right now. We're implementing B2B strategy for Bolt for all those different countries they operate in globally. But the key foundations that I have in sales was in the book sales in this US experience that I was explaining before. So let me go into the meat and tell you what are the mistakes that I saw in sales in IT and what to do to avoid them or to fix them. Because it's not that hard, but you just have to have it in a sequence. You have to have the system, and of course, you have to have metrics to see which areas work the best. So now here it doesn't really matter if it's a person from outbound, from inbound, but what I see is that a lot of times we're just talking to the wrong person. And what I mean by that is two things. If it's outbound, if you're sending emails, you need to know who do you want to really talk to. If you're approaching a CEO, CTO, if your offer is for those guys, or this is just a random guy that you found contact to and you want to talk to him. So you need to have a buyer persona on one side, but also once you have this buyer persona, you need to know how to communicate with them. So even if you got someone from inbound, then you start talking to them, you need to do a little bit of research to understand, are these guys are more technical or is this person more business oriented? Is he from this or this area? What could be their challenges so you can have a full flow of this conversation? And of course, it's going to help you manage this, control the whole communication, and in the end, deliver him not what he wants, because like I mentioned in the beginning, people don't know quite often what they really want. We need to show them what they need and educate them on that area. So this is the first point. Then second thing is working with no process. So imagine going to the gym and just doing crazy amount of push-ups, sit-ups, running, and probably knowing life. And you probably seen this yourself, or maybe saw some friends that did this. If you do this, you're not going to get any results, because if you work too hard in working out, well, you're going to start burning muscle, not burning fat, and you can hurt your body. So it's the same with your business. If you don't have a process, you don't have metrics. If you don't have metrics, you're not understanding what's going on with the client communication. Where do you lose clients? And even more, it's more funny, you don't know why people buy from you if you have clients. So that's why we need to understand what is the process, what are the steps, and how to measure that, and then we'll focus on optimizing just a little bit elements. And from my perspective, when it comes to sales, I have a simple 8-step system that I normally share. And of course, the step before this is inbound as well. So first contact is when we either send an email, someone comes to us, we meet them at trade shows, we start communication, but then we have the first meeting or qualification where we see if there's any fit, any chemistry between what we do. So we don't want to start with like, hey, you need Java developers? We have those. So this is one CV, second CV, third CV, because people don't buy based on that. They need to understand why they should work with you. So we do this qualification, then we go to the presentation. So this is the time when you can show CVs or case studies. We summarize if they like this, and then if they like the whole idea, then we start negotiating the price, closing, signing the contract, and getting referrals. As you can see, this is a cycle. So it's not a funnel, because the funnel assumes that we're going to get rid of some contacts. Here, we want to get back to people that didn't close with us, let's say half a year or a year from now, or a year ago. So it's okay to do this, but we have to do it again in the process. All right. Then next point, selling from the first contact. So if you are doing outbound, or maybe if you have inbound, but people are not already super decided what they want to do, you don't want to be this pushy salesperson that starts with like, hey, I'm so happy that you finally picked up because we have such a great offer and blah, 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 blah. You probably had this, right? When people, let's say from T-Mobile or Orange call you and they literally don't even know your name, but they try to push you into buying this new offer. You don't really want to talk to them. So this is what you should avoid. So the goal of the first contact is to set up a separate time and space for a discussion, for the qualification. So just ask the people to set up a meeting time with them or a call. And then it's okay to communicate the value that you bring or people that you already met, but that's different from selling, hey, we do have a lot of Java developers. So you have to have
do
that
you really think
in mind.
do you really think that with software houses it works that we do these sales calls? Because I feel it's like quite old school and it doesn't work anymore, and it's quite annoying, especially if we are trying to sell IT services. I don't
Well,
know.
definitely,
To me,
we
it
don't want to
would
do
be.
cold sales calls because those are annoying and those are hard. But outbound is still okay. So sending emails and following up with LinkedIn or calls after emailing communication is okay. Or even if you do
Okay.
it in a higher format where first you engage with the person on LinkedIn with your content, with your marketing, you invite them to a webinar, and then you follow up with the first contact, yeah, then it's totally fine because they already showed you that they are interested in the value that you bring. What we don't want to do, and what I mean here by selling from the first contact, is we don't want to do this cold call when we say, hey, we're the best software house in this and this area, and yeah, we have 5 developers, so do you want? Right? Because this is pushy and this is old school, and it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Stanislav is asking, what do you like? The first contact would be on LinkedIn, or you would sell through LinkedIn. What's your view on that?
Well, it all depends how deep you want to go into, because if I don't have any engagement with the person and I don't have a way to engage, so I don't have a lot of content, my marketing kind of sucks right now, I would just do an email first because this is the most common communication channel. So it's not that aggressive. Definitely calls are aggressive if they're done in the first space. So I would start with an email, then I would follow it up with LinkedIn message or a call. And in the meantime, if it's possible, or maybe even before that, I would start engaging them with some content, some case studies, and something from the marketing side. But I think you, Romeo, you're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But in the clear outbound thing, I would just go with emails because it's easier to find emails, and you can follow up emails. So usually I do at least 3 emails. And on LinkedIn, you cannot really follow up because you cannot say, I'm not sure if you've seen my email, because they saw your message and didn't respond. So that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a lot of discussions about emails. Also, we are actually having another webinar about GDPR and actually B2B marketing, because this is a hot
Exactly.
topic. GDPR, RODO, yeah.
Yeah, and this is a cool topic, and I'm happy you're bringing this up because a lot of people think that GDPR closed the email channel, but it didn't. Actually, it even helps more to do this.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
as long as the
Okay.
communication is B2B, you're totally fine. So I think there's going to be more about this in the webinar. Cool. Okay. So I hope I answered Stanislav's question with this. So then, going to the next step, and as you can see, those points are kind of connected. The big challenge that I see is that a lot of people read really great motivational books or technical books on sales, and they feel like the Wolf of Wall Street, right? When you think like, yeah, I'm just gonna, do like bow, 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 knee, elbow, and kick the client with my head, and then he's gonna buy. It doesn't work this way anymore, especially not in B2B. In B2C, maybe, and there's probably still guys that do this, but here, those deals are not 20, 30 zlotys. They're 20, 30,000 euros minimum, or sometimes they're like $500,000. So you have to be transparent, and you have to show the transparency to the client. So the best way to do this, and usually how I implement this with different sales teams, is we put a sentence in our script. We call this the buying atmosphere, when we literally say it's okay to say no. So I just say to the client, hey, if you like the ideas that I share in this call, tell me about this so we can go to the next stage. I can show you a presentation. I can show you how we work. But if you don't like it, please tell me no, because I don't want to, waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to be pushy. And this helps a lot of people being transparent, and they're more open then for talking. And the next point is just using all logic, no emotion. So we have to remember that even though people work in a really logical environment, corporations, systems, right, digitalization, there is a lot of emotions, and the emotions are, of course, not that they're crying and being depressed, but they do feel a lot of pressure. They do feel a lot of frustration. Maybe they have an investor that really pushes them to deliver something, and they see that they cannot do this with their team. So they're starting to feel fear. So we need to know not how to address this and tell them, oh, you're probably afraid you're going to fuck up. No, we don't even want to say that. But we need to ask them proper questions so they open up with this. So how I look at this is a simple scientific explanation. There is something called the buying line. So this is the level of emotions that we need to understand that motivates us for a change. Simple example, if I drop my phone right now and the screen cracks and half of the screen stops working, some people, their emotions are here on the very bottom. I don't know if you can see my cursor.
Yeah.
Okay, so their emotions are here, or sometimes even here. So people that half of the screen is not working for them, or their computer, half of the keyboard is not working, but they're not changing the computer, even though they could afford it, right? Because they don't have a frustration, they don't have any emotions connected to that. But there are people that are going to be so afraid that they're not going to reply to their girlfriend, or they're not going to reply to a client because of this cracked screen, that they're going to buy it right away, right? And this is just the motivation for change. But the question, if they're going to buy a new screen or a new phone, that's the logical thing. So this is the next step, which we go with the client later. But first, we need to understand, does he really want to change his situation today? And to do this, we need to ask good questions. And once he starts talking about, yeah, we have this investor that is pushing us and it's really frustrating, then we ask what we call the critical question. So it's literally, well, Tom, if I had something that could help you with this situation, would you want to look at it? Not if you want to buy it, because that's already pushing. Would you want to go to the next step of our conversation and look into what I have? And most of the time, they're going to say, yeah, definitely. So if they say, yeah, I really would like to do that, they're here on the top. If they're like, yeah, I think it would be good to see this, they're in what we call the buffer zone. So we can still educate them, we can still talk to them. And if they're like, not really, so that means that they don't care with it, right? So I hope that makes sense. So this is
this is, I believe it's like human behavior, right? Like you don't need. It's like in dating. I used to say, like if
Yeah.
If she's excited about you, yeah, she will go out with you. If she's not, it's just
Yeah, that's
it
it.
will just
And
show it that, you know what.
yeah,
Mm,
exactly. And sometimes, it could be a cool person. You may have a great conversation, but in the dating site, they're going to be here with emotions. You cannot change anything. So it's just like the same. Maybe the client has problems with their software. Maybe the software sucks, but they don't care about it. So if they don't care, you're not going to sell them either way.
what
That's
I
it.
see though as a problem, as a huge challenge, is that the software houses, you have a lot of touch points with the clients, and not only that, you have a lot of touch points that we have with different people, right? You have a lot of
Mm-hmm.
influencers, a lot of champions within the organizations, especially if you are going to enterprise. So we are having
Mm-hmm.
CFO, we are having product managers, we are having CEOs, we are having project managers, whatever, yeah, acquisition,
Yeah.
purchasing, so on and so forth. So, do you feel that this type of you know approach, it's taken with all the stakeholders in the sales
Yeah.
process?
Definitely, definitely. And it all depends again on the persona that you have. Because let's say there's the CEO who cares probably the most about making the investors happy, and he's getting the pressure from the investors, or he just has pressure to give them results. Whereas, let's say the CTO, he needs to keep the team, existing team, happy with what he has and keep the product growing, right? And maybe if he doesn't have enough people in the team, then he will open up to outsource a
Hmm.
task or a feature. But yeah, we need to understand this, and this is the same product that we're talking about, but in a different packaging. So this is the emotional packaging that
Yeah,
you described.
that's why also in the framework that I will share with you later, and also I made a
Hmm.
video about it. We talk a lot about this strategic messaging map, where you have, okay,
Exactly.
you have the main decision maker, but you have also the influencers and the end users, and they have different
Hmm.
values. So you really need to understand what's the difference, and what
Hmm.
they want to achieve, what's their goal overall, because at the end of the day, or that they have different KPIs to succeed. The
Exactly, exactly. So, and we need to have control over that. That doesn't mean we make people buy, but we navigate through this, and transparently we see if they're ready to do this or not, right?
Mhm.
And or if they're in the middle, how we can educate them to to actually go ahead and work with us. So, for example, when I was talking to Bolt half a year ago, it wasn't like Bolt came to us and say, "Hey, Simon, we need help with sales because we suck at it." No, Bolt actually is a pretty decent company. They're pretty well funded and they know a lot about sales. But what they needed is to scale really fast to new countries. So the education and the packaging that I did was that scaling, especially hiring new salespeople and onboarding them, takes a lot of time, which is obviously logical. But
Mhm.
there's a lot of emotions behind it. So in the conversation, I was leading that flow, and it well obviously made sense because they do have or they did have challenges with that, and this is the aspects that we were approaching, even though it's the same process that we would do for building a new sales team and with
Cool.
the startup.
So, Shemek, you think we can speed up with the next steps, because I'm aware of
Yeah,
time and we are at
sure, no
lunch
problem.
level. So it would be cool
So
to.
yeah, so really fast, not handling objections properly. Well, there's you need to understand there's going to be objections, but a no doesn't always mean a no. So sometimes people have doubts. So I would look at objections and doubts, and doubts we should answer with testimonials from other clients. So the main thing to remember is that our idea doesn't we're not really allowed to say this is our opinion. It doesn't really matter in the conversation. We should use storytelling and testimonials from other clients, because this is how we can get rid of doubts with other clients. Uh, 7, focusing on features instead of needs and pains, and this kind of connects with the emotions. So when we do present to the client, when we show how we work, we don't want to only show, yeah, we work agile, we have a team of 6 developers and we do this and that. We want to do this with the contrast of a story, in a story from another client again. So tell a story of a client that worked waterfall and what happened, and then talk why you work on agile. So it's showing the contrast between the
It's
bad
like
and good.
proof of concept, right? Like you need to have some
Exactly.
kind of. Mhm.
Exactly. But sometimes they're not aware what's the bad situation. So if you say, yeah, we're agile, everyone does. But they don't remember how agile fully works or what can happen if you don't implement agile properly. Then not closing the sale properly. So here, what happens, a lot of people just say, hey, so are we doing this? And it doesn't mean people sometimes are not interested when they say no. But if we do it this way, we're closing up the conversation for a discussion on doubts. So we want to do this in a, 2, 3 maybe steps where normally I give like 2 advantages and I do some sort of a call to action, like say, hey, the next step would be this and this and this. Would we want to take the next step? And that's it. Not ask, do you want to sign it? Because that's too pushy. Not getting new leads for existing clients and from contacts that you have. So the main thing, and I know people take referrals, so they take contacts to other clients, but do you take referrals from people that told you no? Right? Because it's okay, especially if you build good transparency, if you build good atmosphere, buying atmosphere in the communication. If people tell you no and you promise them that you're going to leave them alone, you don't want to be pushy when they say no. If you ask them then for a contact to another person, they're going to be happy to do this. If you're this pushy salesperson that's going to make them buy, they're not going to give you contacts. So this is also the way to test what is your pushiness level in the communication. And the last one, my favorite, hoping for a sales miracle. This can mean different things. Some people say, yeah, it just needs some time. We're a young software house. We're only 5 years on the market. Yeah, okay, that's great, but still, you need to put some effort and some control in what you're doing. And some people also say, yeah, we're just hoping, sooner or later we're gonna hire this superstar salesperson. Like, I would love you to do that, but most of the time, those superstar salespeople, they're not looking for a job. It's just like with a superstar programmer. You have to make them, not find them, right? So usually I'm telling people to take steps into improving what you do, not wait and hope for the best. And yeah, and that's it. So I don't know if there's any more questions.
Yes, there are questions. Thanks a lot for this. I will even open it now for questions, and you can just
Cool.
drop it in. But
Yeah.
Natalie asks, how do you find about a lead's position on the buying line for a company selling services, where you don't have a product to show? Like, you don't have a product to show, so how do you find the line?
Well, this is pretty human, I would say, because you have to have a conversation with them. So you don't come to the meeting and just ask, "Would you want to get developers? Do you need to work, right? Or do you need outsourcing?" Because obviously they're going to say, "No, we don't need it." And the worst thing you can do is ask, "Do you have a problem with your company?" Because no one is going to tell you, "Oh yeah, great. I do have a problem. I'm happy you came to me," especially in outbound, right? So what you want to do, and I don't know, I probably don't have enough time to give you the full picture, but you want to do, we call this a question funnel, where when you start a conversation with the client, you don't go right away to like, "Hey, what's your problem?" Because this is exactly like if you would meet a new person in a conference. After saying your name, you would ask, "So Romeo, what's your goal in life?" And you just met Romeo, right? That would be a silly question. So normally we start from logical, easy topics, and then we navigate down. So we start with like, "Hey, I saw that you have 2 offices. Are there more locations? How many people do you have? What technologies do you use? How many projects do you have?" And then you ask about the problem, but we call it the problem priority question. So you don't ask, "Do you have a problem?" but you ask, "What takes the most time in project development?" Excuse me. Or what takes the most energy in scaling your product? So having this question in a priority is going to give you something that is on the top of the list, and then you test it. So you literally ask, "Oh, so how does this influence your work?" or "How do you feel with it?" And people will give you their feelings. They say, "Oh, it's really frustrating. It's really hard. It's a lot of pressure." And then you close it up with the critical questions. So saying, "Oh, so if I had something that could help you with this, would you want to take a look at that?" And that,
Cool.
yeah.
There is one more question from Stanislav, and then maybe we can move on. I will open the questions again, but how does it look? So the question is, I don't know if you
Yeah,
have a question because
I
if you
see,
see,
I see, yeah, I see the question. So normally, if you want to open up new countries, so I'm guessing you don't have clients, let's say, already in England or in US, and you want to start that market. I would look at clients similar to what you already have in the portfolio because it's easier to build trust, and the case studies will be more understandable. And the best way to do this is just go online, go on LinkedIn, use tools to find similar
technology.
companies, similar technologies, yeah, similar web, or just simply just look at the LinkedIn position of the best client you have and find people in the same industry on the same position, and that's it. And it should be good. And there's many tools to research emails. So later, if you want, we can share that with you guys after the